everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp with some Lift Ink butterfly backgrounds using components from the Simon Says Stamp June 2020 card kit of the month called Beautiful Butterflies. We're going to be taking some awesome rainbow colors of alcohol inks plus the Beautiful Butterflies stamp set included in the kit and creating these Lift Ink backgrounds and then embellishing with some of the stamped sentiments as well as the ideology typography findings included in the kit. Let's start by creating our backgrounds. I have some Yupo paper here and I am adding some color, and I'm kind of only adding a color at a time and then using a blower to move that ink around a little bit. I started with Flamingo and then I'm going to pull in a little sunset orange, sunshine yellow, and then some pinata brass. And you're going to watch as I move that ink around a little bit and just it's kind of a diagonal through the design. I want to shake up the brass really, really well, and then I'm going to use a pipette to apply some drops of this throughout my background. You can always add more color if you want to, and then kind of move everything around. Once I have that, I'm going to take some blending solution and along the edges of the design, apply bits of the blending solution and then kind of spray that out or blow that out with the blower tool to create these lighter areas along the edges of the design. We're just simply moving that ink around a little bit more until you're happy with how it looks. You can go back and do this as many times as you want, add more color to different areas, anything you want to do here. It's really kind of a fun process just building these backgrounds. Once you have the background the way you want it to look, I like to go ahead and pick it up and go set it somewhere safe where it isn't going to leak on anything until it is completely dry. Then I want to clean my work surface before I start on the next background. All the backgrounds are created really similarly, kind of with that diagonal stripe. The colors for this background are the citrus green color I just added there, some pool, and then the sunshine yellow. So that same yellow color we used on the first one, we're pulling in to this design, and then the pinata brass again. I love the play of the color here, and I'm just kind of using again that blower to blow the ink a little bit where I want it to go, adding in some brass touches to play with those alcohol inks. And then again, kind of blowing that out a bit as well. We'll take our blending solution along the edges and start moving that ink out. And there is our next background, which is so, so pretty. I love starting with a bigger background panel than what I'm actually going to use. All the backgrounds are going to be die cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches with a Simon Says Stamp basic rectangles die. But I like to start with a bigger piece so that I can pick and choose where I want to A, do our Lift Ink stamping, and B, where I want to die cut the rectangle from those backgrounds. For our third and final background, we are going to start with some sailboat blue, beautiful blue color. And I actually added a little blending solution right away to that color to kind of help it move around a little bit. Then we're going to pull in some purple twilight. I love how the blue and the twilight look together here. And you can see when you add some blending solution to the purple twilight that you actually kind of get a little bit of a pink effect when it, I hate to say waters down, but it blends down a little bit, or waters down, I guess. And then we're going to do a little aqua along the other side. And again, pull in that blending solution, blend that out. And then we want to add a little piñata brass to this as well for those little brassy metallic touches throughout. And add in more color here and there as I need to, especially in the upper right corner and lower left corner. There wasn't really quite enough ink for the lift ink technique. So you want to have enough color there that you're going to be able to see the beautiful lift ink. I love creating my own backgrounds like this, and this is just a really fun, relaxing way to create some very interesting and unique backgrounds. So kind of there is what that's looking like, and I decided I definitely needed more color. So we're just going to add in some additional little drops, and that looks a little harsh, so I'm going to take some blending solution and blend that out. What I love also about alcohol inks is they're so forgiving. If you don't particularly like how something turned out, you can always add more ink, more blending solution, and kind of blend it out and work with it until you do get something that you like. Now, once all of the backgrounds are completely air dried, I want to take a MISTI and I want to set up some of the butterfly images from the Beautiful Butterflies 6x8 stamp set included in the June kit, and we're going to be stamping these with the alcohol lift ink. So I want to make sure that everything is positioned in my MISTI exactly where I want it to go, and I'm actually going to just be stamping this exact same design 3 times. I'm going to give it a really good press after I've inked it up with the lift ink. And then I'm going to take a dry microfiber cloth and kind of dab up that excess ink before buffing it dry. Now, I did that one time and then I cleaned my stamps really, really well because I didn't feel like the butterfly images were quite as lifted as I wanted. So I cleaned the stamps because they're going to pick up some of that color, that alcohol ink color from the background. I cleaned them, re-inked them with the lift ink, and pressed that again. We are going to copy the same steps for the next 2 backgrounds. So we're going to stamp it, buff away that excess lift ink to reveal the beautiful shadowy effect on our background, and then we're going to clean our stamps and stamp that again. I really love watching those ghostly images kind of come to life in the backgrounds and how different it looks on all 3 different background colors. We're going to press that one more time. And this really shows what a difference that second pressing of the alcohol, or pardon me, the lift ink makes. Because you can definitely see these butterflies a little better. Originally, I had planned to only use these 4 butterflies. There are 6 different butterfly shapes in the stamp set. I originally planned on these 4, but as I laid out and played with my dies, I really realized that there was more room for more butterflies in this design, and so I'm actually going to use those final 2 butterflies. So once I get this initial stamping all done, I am going to go back with my backgrounds intact as they are. We're going to clean these original 4 stamps. We're going to line up our remaining 2 butterfly images in the MISTI, and we are going to stamp those in the backgrounds just like we did this. And that's going to kind of fill in a couple of little holes there in the background. And I used my A2 sized rectangle die as a guide to kind of know where I wanted to fill in with those remaining 2 butterfly images. And we're just going to double check it really quick and make sure that we like how everything is looking. And that looks really good, so we can go ahead and remove our original butterfly images before we stamp these final two. And we're going to follow the same steps as before, where we stamp this twice to get a really good ghostly impression in the background. This is such a fun way to create some very unique backgrounds. If you love creating your own backgrounds for your cards, this is so much fun. Now, once we have all of our backgrounds completely stamped with the lift ink, we're going to take the A2 Basic Rectangles die and then an A2 Thin Frames die, and we're going to die cut those, and I die cut those together with one pass of the machine, and we're going to take those and run them through our die cutting machine to create our outer border, and then it's going to have a really thin die cut frame and then that center panel. We're going to discard the really thin frame, and we're going to die cut some of the ivory cardstock included in the kit with this, and we're going to replace the alcohol inked background frame with the ivory frame. This is my very, very favorite technique for drawing your eye into the center of a card design. One thing I want to mention about this is sometimes the alcohol ink will transfer to your dies, even though your background is dry to the touch. I like to just take a little, you can take the blending solution or a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and you can clean up your die very easily that way. I just took a little tiny bit of rubbing alcohol on a microfiber cloth and wiped that away. Then I am doing a little bit different greetings on all of my backgrounds. This Thinking of You background, or pardon me, Thinking of You sentiment is from the Beautiful Butterflies stamp set. I've stamped it on black cardstock with clear embossing ink and heat embossed with white embossing powder. We're just going to kind of cut around that or use our paper trimmer to trim that out. But what I did was, off camera, I took the Ideology typography findings included in the kit, and I laid out different words that you can spell with them. And surprisingly enough, you get a ton of these because you can really make a lot of words. You can make even more than what I'm sharing here. I played around with it till I got 3 greetings that I thought would work for my cards. I'm going to be using hello, miss you, and hi friend. Then I'm going to take combinations of either stamped and embossed phrases like the Thinking of You that we're using for this first one, as well as some sentiment strips. These are the sentiment strips reverse miss you. So they're already pre-made, and we'll just cut those into strips, and we're going to use combinations of those for our cards. We're going to adhere our outer frame to a white top fold card base first, and then we're going to take some liquid adhesive and run a thin line of this all the way around the perimeter of our card. Just a nice little light line, and then very, very gently work in that ivory die cut frame before finishing with the center panel of our card design. And I like to just use a nice strong adhesive in the center. Once we have that, it's time to add our sentiment. I'm going to put foam adhesive on the back of Thinking of You, and then the phrase, if you need me, I'll be there, which is from a Sentiment Strips Reverse Miss You greeting. And I'm going to adhere my phrases with foam adhesive right there on my card. And then what I found worked the easiest for adding the typography letters to my card is I used craft tweezers to hold onto them, and then applied some glossy accents to the back. Just a nice strong adhesive was what I was looking for here. And I'm going to start in the center and work my way out. So the center of the word hello would be what the first L in hello, and then I will just kind of work the other L on the one side, the E on the other, and then the final 2 letters. The tweezers make holding on to these letters so much easier. I didn't have to worry about maybe accidentally dropping them onto my work surface and getting glue everywhere. The final thing that we're going to add to our card, one tiny little additional embellishment, are just these little Trinity Stamps Funfetti heart embellishments. So this one I'm going to use a little yellow heart and adhere it right below the text. And that is it for our background. So it really lets the beautiful alcohol inked and lift ink background shine with the beautiful text layered there on the front of the card. Let's go ahead and put together our remaining two backgrounds. The blue and purple background, again, we're just putting this together exactly the same. This time I have 2 rows of text. In fact, the next 2 cards have 2 rows of text. This says, "Miss you." So we're going to kind of lay out our text, and I did that already off camera over to the left. So I have an idea of where I want that to go so it visually looks appealing. And then I did go ahead and glue my letters first, starting with the center letters again, so the I and the S in the word miss. And then we can center U right under that by centering the O and working our way out with the Y and the U. For this card, I ended up using 2 of these sentiment strips instead of any stamped and embossed strips. So you can really use any kind of sentiment that maybe you already have on hand at home if you wanted to do different occasional cards. I'm going to put foam adhesive behind each of these sentiment strips. And then this time we're going to finish with one of those little funfetti hearts in purple, which I think works really well with this card background. For our final background, this one is also going to feature 2 rows of the typography findings. This one is going to say, "Hi, friend." And then I'm only going to do 1 sentiment strip under here, but this is actually one I stamped and embossed. So this is another phrase from the Beautiful Butterfly stamp set. "Even as the rain pours, I'm here for you." Which I think the brightness and beautiful background really just kind of sends a nice sunshiny, happy vibe to somebody who maybe is struggling. I think this is a great card to send to a friend, especially, you know, anytime really, but maybe even right now. We all know someone who maybe is struggling, and I think this would be such a nice way to just send a little touch of sunshine. So we'll stamp and emboss this phrase and then pop it up right there underneath our typography findings. One thing I want to mention about the typography findings, if you use them on cards like I did today, I would suggest putting them in a padded mailer to mail out unless you're hand delivering them. They are quite dimensional, and you would really hate for them to maybe get mangled or ruin the card in the mail if you don't put it in a bubble mailer. So I would definitely recommend a padded or bubble mailer of some sort if you are going to mail these out. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 3 Lift Ink butterfly background cards featuring the June 2020 card kit called Beautiful Butterflies. The supplies I used to create these cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please be sure to visit the Simon Says Stamp blog for more information on these cards, as well as loads of inspiration using the card kits of the month. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.